Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farms, and this is my new Woodland Mills HM130 Max sawmill. I'm really excited to have this. I've been wanting one for a long time, but before we put it together, the first thing I want to do is build a nice, stable stand to get it up in the air so I'm not bending down to work, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So I brought my dad in to help me build this, because he's got a little bit more experience than I do building things, and it'll be nice to have an extra set of hands. So behind me is a bunch of stacks of lumber, and all of this I milled myself at someone else's mill, or I had a mill brought here, or whatever the case may be. But we're going to try to build the whole thing out of this if possible. And this stack right here is the first time I ever had a mill on the property. This is all oak that's almost 2 years old, been well seasoned. So we're going to try to take these 2x12x12s and turn those into basically 4x6 beams. What I was picturing was cutting them off square and butting the ends together, and then on the next one that we attach to it, just offsetting that. But you had a couple different suggestions on how to make the beams.
I've seen people do a angled cut to where it's bonded over a longer surface rather than just a butt cut. And that looks to me like it adds a lot of strength to it. Your grandpa used to do that.
And then the other option was like a stair step, so that there's an overlap. So we'll look at that as we go. But right now, the task is we're going to take 4 of these and rip the 12.5 foot length.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's get a new blade on here. We started off putting a new blade on because I ripped one of these for some floor joist about a week ago, and this rough cut lumber, especially being oak that is this well seasoned, is just really hard for my little table saw to handle. The reason we're building these beams is my new mill can mill material up to 16 foot, and lumberyards sell material up to 16 foot, but we need 20-foot beams to set the mill on. The outside legs of the sawmill are at 18 feet and 4 inches. The full length of the rails is 19.5 feet, so we're going to build this 20 feet. And we have 12 foot long. These are actually, I think, 12 foot 6. So we've got about 25 foot to try to stagger our seams. We are going to stair step our joint, and we're going to go ahead and build 2 beams, and then we'll start worrying about the legs underneath. We're going to do an 18-inch overlap on a stair step. I think they might call this a scarf, but you guys can tell me in the comments what you want to call it. It doesn't matter which side I cut from this. So we got 3.5 inch deck screws with torque bit. And this is 3 inches thick, so we're going to countersink them for this, maybe inch, inch and a half, something like that. Okay, we got a countersink, and then we're going to drill them through.
The width here is almost perfect. It just got to pour in a little faster than I was expecting.
So basically, what we're gonna have, if we cut this off at 20 feet, this joint is gonna be at about 12 feet. So we're gonna be able to offset it by making two beams exactly like this and flipping them over. They'd be offset by about 4 feet. We've got 4 beams made. Now we're cutting them off to 20 feet.
Your end even down there?
No.
Should be, that's mine.
Now this is something we anticipated with this rough cut wood. None of it's perfectly straight and perfectly flat. So we're gonna have to fasten this end and then use clamps to bend it up and get these two in line with each other.
You just fasten your end down. Get that nice and straight right there at the very end and run some screws into it.
Okay, now we're taking the leftover pieces from that and we're cutting the bottom of our stand, the bottom of the legs. The feet on the mills are center to center at 33. I think the legs need to be 37 so the full circle can sit on it. So I'm going to make the legs out of these 4x4s, which is also rough cut oak. And these are going to be cut to 16 inches because they're going to set on 2 inches. Then they're going to have 6 inches on them and then a 2x on them. And then the saw is 6 inches. It's going to put my cutting height on the sawmill at 32 inches. These are the legs. This will go on the ground, and this, and our beams go on that, and they're going to be covered with 2x6s. The 2x6s will partially attach this to the beam. So that's why these are wider than the beams they're going on. They're going to have a 2x6 across them. Hey, these are heavy.
You betcha. Huh?
I just was looking at how it was lined up.
Good enough for who it's for.
Yes, sir. And this is all on the ground, so we're good. Last time you saw me, I would estimate I was about an hour from finishing this, and we were about an hour and a half before sunset. I get a text message, hey, we gotta go right now, I'm late for cheerleading. So, I got to go sit in a parking lot. I actually went to Lowe's. I got to sit and wait for an hour and a half and drive for an hour. But I'm back, and this is going to get finished tonight. So, get back to it. There's a little bit of bow in these beams, and I want to make sure, because the legs are exactly the same height. So if I put a pry bar under it and lift up a little bit, then I know for sure that the beam is tight against the leg, and that should settle out when we get some weight on it. These are exterior construction screws. That still doesn't mean they're necessarily weight bearing, but these screws are just squeezing this board against this board. It's just pulling in. There's no vertical holding because we are setting directly on the post. You got all these distances marked. One of these beams has a seam right here. The other beam has a seam right there. So all of our seams in this beam are sitting on the legs. And I've already marked the spacing. I'm betting some of you guys are worried about squaring this up, and I'm worried about that too. But I don't think I have to square it up at this step, because there's still nothing really but just a couple screws keeping this frame from twisting. I think I'm going to get it in place and level, and then make sure it's square, and then put some cross bracing in. I am going to get the top rail put on tonight, but I was also wanting to weather seal this tonight, and I can't because the low tonight is going to be down below 40, and it says not to apply that if it's going to be below 50 in the next 48 hours. So tomorrow or Sunday, it looks like the weather is going to cooperate and I can weather seal this. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these last 4 up, and then we'll get to that top rail. Well, now that it's built, I guess we ought to see if it's going to actually work. The foot pads are 33.5 inches apart to center. Center of these beams to center is exactly 33.5. So that's perfect. These are 4-inch wide, and we're going to set a 6-inch wide board on them. So I'm going to leave about 1 inch of overhang on each side of the beam. Let's see. Yep, right at 6 inches. That's about 5.5. This is turned this way. This piece of scrap wood is 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to use that to make my overhang consistent all the way down. Well, guys, I can honestly say this turned out exactly the way I wanted it to. My goal was complete this in 1 day. I thought it would be really cool if we could make the entire thing come out of that one oak tree, and that's exactly what we did. We didn't even use all the oak that I had off that tree, but this entire thing lived its 100-year life at the end of my property long before I was here, and now the same tree is going to hold up the mill and hopefully do that for a long time. But I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to more of our videos. I'll see you next time.